Good morning, friends. I'm Dewey, and my Tech Talk topic for today is why USB-C isn't yet universal. 2 weeks ago, my Tech Talk topic was USB-A to USB-C, a deep dive into differences. It was a journey into USB ports and cables from its modest beginning nearly 20 years ago to the versatile USB-C ports that are common today. Depending on configuration, USB-C ports and cables can transmit data up to 40 gigabits per second, or carry power up to 100 watts, or display video at up to 8K resolution. Notice that I use the word or rather than and. My deep dive into USB-C perhaps left the impression that this is indeed the vaunted connecting technology of our age. That was until I read a very recent article in ReviewGeek.com titled, "Why USB-C Isn't the One Port to Rule Them All Yet." Having one standard connector to power and charge all of your USB devices would make life a lot easier. And though USB-C is a strong candidate for the universal port title, it isn't there yet, claimed author Dave McQuilling. Barrel jacks are still seen on laptops for connecting power supplies, and Apple's Lightning connectors haven't yet faded away for reasons ranging from cost to practicality to safety concerns. So what are the shortcomings of USB-C, and what are the challenges it needs to overcome on its path to universality? Well, let's explore. For starters, all USB-C ports and connectors look very much the same. However, two different USB-C ports or connectors can have vast differences in properties as well as quality. Also, to receive all of the benefits of USB-C, ports and cables need to use the USB 3.2 standard, if not already using USB 4. USB 4? What's that all about? Well, for your information, the relatively new USB 4 standard was introduced in 2019, though the first computers with USB 4 connectivity didn't arrive until late 2020, a little over a year ago. There's quite a bit to know about USB 4, so I'm planning to make it the topic of my next Tech Talk. A properly designed power cable will limit the amount of power a device can draw. Regulating the power output protects the cable, the device, and the charging port. Unfortunately, many cables on the market do not meet powering standards. Users should always look for USB-IF, stands for Implementers Forum, certified cables to ensure their devices will not be damaged. Fortunately, these cables aren't necessarily the most expensive. For example, even every Amazon Basics USB cable has this certification. Cheap USB cables can be a problem, and consumers need to realize that USB items aren't patent. Everything, including the USB logo itself, is owned and copyrighted, and the owners do charge a fee for any commercial use. USB-IF certification costs money to companies which want to prove they're making a high quality product. However, the USB logo fee is waived for USB-IF member companies. Certification fees often result in manufacturers saving money by using the old-fashioned barrel jacks instead for powering. Apple, which worldwide accounts for a quarter of cell phone sales and over 7% of computer sales, still isn't fully on board. And without Apple, a port can't become a universal standard. Some Apple devices do make use of USB-C, including MacBooks and iPads. However, several of their smaller devices, like iPhones, still use Apple's Lightning connector instead. Apple is avoiding the switch for several reasons, including profit, since it receives $4 royalty from every Lightning cable manufactured and sold. Also, it's speculated that Apple won't make the switch because of waterproofing concerns and because it would give them less overall control over their devices' designs. Despite the EU proposal to make USB-C standard, that's the European Union proposal, to make USB-C the standard connector on the continent, Apple might opt to drop charging ports entirely, despite occasional rumors of adopting USB instead. Odds, however, are tilting toward Apple just continuing to use their MagSafe charging system, which you see to the right. Regarding power delivery, most devices could be powered by USB-C's 100-watt, 6-amp maximum power delivery. Nevertheless, there are devices like high-end laptops, speakers, and displays which require power levels beyond USB-C's 100-watt maximum. Of course, manufacturers of such devices normally include an appropriately sized power supply, and consumers needing a replacement or additional power supply for their device should always wisely choose an OEM part and resist buying an aftermarket part. I had a bad experience once with an aftermarket power supply, so I can verify that. Issues and confusion regarding USB-C are mostly the result of trying to bridge the gap between older USB connectors and current cutting-edge types. Hopefully, this situation will improve as the USB 4 standard comes into wider use. USB 4 uses only USB-C type cables and connectors, so the old, nearly obsolete USB type A cables and connectors may start being phased out. Change doesn't happen overnight, but the move to USB 4 with USB type A slowly sailing off into the sunset will certainly be a game changer. Well, that's my Tech Talk story for today, and I am sticking with it. And of course, I'm kind of excited about looking into USB 4 next week. So thanks for watching. Stay safe, and the good Lord willing, we'll see you next week. Bye now.
There you go. Everything you ever wanted to know about USB. Thank you, Dewey. Now, you ask and you shall receive. Bill James wants to talk about Malwarebytes. Where's Bill?
Malwarebytes, free and premium. What's the difference? Well, Malwarebytes anti-malware is a great security tool that's particularly effective against potential unwanted programs, which are called PUPs, P-U-P-S, and other nasty software traditional antivirus programs don't deal with. But it's intended to be used alongside an antivirus and doesn't replace one entirely. If you're using Malwarebytes anti-malware, you should be running it alongside a primary antivirus program to keep your computer in tip-top security shape. But traditional advice is not to run two anti-malware programs at once. Here's how to thread that needle. The standard free version of Malwarebytes anti-malware just functions as an on-demand scanner. In other words, it doesn't run automatically in the background. Instead, it only does something when you launch it and click the scan button. This version of Malwarebytes shouldn't interfere with your antivirus program at all. Just install it and occasionally launch it to perform a scan and check for potentially unwanted programs. Almost no one actually wants. If you will find and remove them. Using the anti-malware program as an on-demand scanner is a safe way to get a second opinion. However, the paid version of anti-malware premium contains real-time scanning features. Malwarebytes Premium runs in the background, scanning your system and files you open for problems and preventing them from taking root on your system in the first place. The problem is that your main antivirus program is already functioning in this way. The standard advice is that you shouldn't have real-time scanning enabled for two antivirus programs enabled at once. They can interfere with each other in a variety of ways, slowing down your computer, causing crashes, or even preventing each other from working. You can still run both at once if you like. To do this, you want to open Settings, click on the Security tab, and disable Always Register Malwarebytes in the Windows Security Center option. With this option disabled, Malwarebytes won't register itself as the system security application, and both Malwarebytes and Windows Defender will run at the same time. And we're using Windows Defender as an example. It could be any antivirus that you have installed. And here is the screen that you want to look at. Under Settings, you want to go to Security, and then you'll see Windows Security System, Windows Security Center, and you'll notice it says Always Register Malwarebytes in the Windows Security Center. In other words, if that happens, then Malwarebytes will become the primary antivirus. You want to have that switch turned off. Now, if you want to install the free version as truly free, here's a couple tips. First of all, you'll go to the Malwarebytes website, and you'll notice the yellow button that says Free Download. Next, you'll click on that button, and whatever browser you're using, you'll see where you'll get the MB setup, and you just want to click on Open File. From there, you'll get this screen that says Install. Now, you also will notice it has advanced options, but in the case of Malwarebytes, the only options you have is to install it as a desktop icon. So it's not really necessary to actually look at that, but most people will tell you that when you install software, you should always try and look at the advanced options to see what's actually occurring and what you want to turn on or off. The next screen you'll see will be Include Browser Protection. I would suggest you skip this for now. The next screen, you'll find the product is installing. Once it's successfully installed, just click on Done. And then you'll get another screen that says, Welcome to your free 14-day premium trial. You notice at the bottom, there's also a place to put your email. That's totally option. So you'll want to go ahead and click Get Started. This will bring you up with the dashboard for Malwarebytes, and you notice it says Premium Trial. Now, the next thing you want to do, you want to go up to the gear and click on it. And then you want to go to Account. From there, you'll want to click on Deactivate. This will deactivate the premium trial at this point. The next screen you'll get will say, Always free, upgrade premium for real-time protection recommended. But you'll notice now the addition you have is Malwarebytes free. So you won't have to be bothered with going and deregistering if you happen to not want to have the premium version. Another thing you want to look at is setting exclusions. Malwarebytes is coded in a different way and is designed to run alongside with other antivirus programs without interfering. It may even work without any further configuration. But to make sure it works as well as it possibly can and improve performance, you should set up inclusions in both Malwarebytes Antivirus Premium and your standard antivirus programs. To do this in Malwarebytes, you'll want to again go to Settings and select the Allow list and add the folders, typically under Program Files, containing your antivirus program files. For more specific instructions, you might want to perform a web search for Malwarebytes and the name of your antivirus program, or just perform a web search for the name of your antivirus program and exclusions to find how to add those exclusions and exclude the files named on the Malwarebytes website. Remember, Malwarebytes is designed to run alongside a normal antivirus program, so you shouldn't have to worry about most of the time, especially if you're just running the free version. However, if you're using the paid version, setting up exclusions can help you avoid problems and maximize your computer performance. Here's some references that you can look at. Those will be included. I will put those in the chat. How to run Malwarebytes alongside another virus was an article that was in High 2 Geeks from Chris Hoffman. That's where I got some material from. And the other one is 5 best antiviruses to use with Malwarebytes config flee.
It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. I recently made a video on using Microsoft Office on your Chromebook. This involved talking about a progressive web app. There was some confusion, so I thought I would make another video just to explain what a progressive web app is. So let's have a look at this. Now, most of you are familiar with installing programs. This would be installing a program on a prior Windows version. Now, to install a program on your Windows machine, you'll first get a notification saying, is it okay? And then you say yes, and the program installs. But I want you to think about this as really planting a tree. In other words, you are installing this program into the operating system. In other words, it is going to be installing a bunch of files into the system. And the longer you use it, the tree is going to grow. It's going to have big roots, and it's going to require space. And the more programs you put on your machine, oftentimes the slower it gets. So when you go to remove these big trees now with these big roots, it can be very complicated. And if you remember back in Windows 3.1 and some of the very old Windows versions, they got slow after about a year because of all these extra programs we were putting on there. Now that's got a bit better as we have moved ahead, but you have to remember when you install a program, you are putting a lot of software into the operating system. This, of course, also adds a huge issue with security, because this is where viruses can get in to the central part of your operating system. All right, let's look at the native apps that you might find on your Android phone or your Chromebook. These apps install on top of the operating system. The operating system looks up at those apps and says, "You're not touching me, you're not getting in, period." These apps work on the surface of the operating system, and this adds part of the incredible security we find on Chromebooks and Android phones. The apps do not install into the software, and they sit on the surface. So you can delete apps, install them, delete them, install them, delete them, because there is no roots to pull out of the operating system. On a Chromebook, we also have sandboxing. What sandboxing means is the apps are limited to their own physical space. They're boxed in. They can't affect other apps that are on your Chromebook. So they are sandboxed just to that space. So they can't go into the operating system, and they can't affect other apps. So when you delete them, they're gone. And you'll find these apps at the Play Store. They easily access your device. They load fast. And they often use part of the hardware capabilities of your device that you're using them on. They are limited to the operating system that you're using and the version. So a different app would be needed for an Apple device, a Windows device, or a Chromebook. They all need to be different apps. PWAs are built and live on the web. They're reliable, they're fast, and they're engaging. And they're distributed directly to the user. In other words, they don't go through the Play Store or the Apple Store. A good example that we're going to use is Microsoft Office, which is downloaded directly from office.com. They load instantly on any operating system. In fact, they work on Windows, they work on Android, Chrome OS, and iOS devices. And they update through the app themselves, so you don't have to go back to the Play Store or for updates. Now, Microsoft Office is now a progressive web app. If you used any of the old apps, the native apps like Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, or Microsoft PowerPoint that you downloaded from the Play Store, these will not work. In fact, when you try to run them, they will send you over to office.com, where you'll be prompted to download the PWA, which is a progressive web app. You'll find this to be true on your phone and also with your Chromebook. Progressive web apps also will work on your Windows machine. So let's have a look and see how this works on a Chromebook. Now, the preferred method is to come over to the Microsoft site at office.com and sign in to your Microsoft account. This will enable you to download the progressive web app. Now, you come over to office.com and you have a number of options. Now, the sign in to your Microsoft Office account is really the sign in to your Microsoft account. So if you signed in Windows 10 or 11, you can use the same sign in and password. It will automatically find your Office 365 account if you have signed up for one. Now here we are logging in. I say yes. Now we'll see that I'm in my Microsoft account. So here is the trick and the point of this video. Come up to the very top and you'll see a little button here. When you click that, it then says install this app. And you're going to click this and install it. And then what you're going to notice is that your software will open up. In this case, it's a PowerPoint slide. What you've just done is you've downloaded and installed the progressive web app for Microsoft Office. Now this is downloaded and installed on your Chromebook. I'll show you that in a minute. But this is the way that you get the app. It's not found in the Chrome Web Store or the Android Play Store. It is found on the Microsoft site. So if you want to watch the entire video on installing the Office PWA on your Chromebook, I'll put the link in the description. So you remember the like and subscribe thing. We'd sure appreciate it. It really helps us continue to make great videos like this.